Often, my ancestral name, my great-grandmother, Martha Jaleli, wife of Captain Louis. My grandfather, Jacob Lewis, and my uncle, my uncle Louis Lewis are in amalgamation, 1923 picture. And in regards to our mandates, where we go, we have 3 occupied reserves in the lower mainland here, and 6 occupied reserves in Squamish within our respective territory. There's lots of opportunities with regards to economic development, education, and the wisdom and strength of our elders. We look at Sanoke, that's Lionel, we look at Seymour, and we look at Chippewa, or the reserves in Gibsons, and many opportunities in the upper Squamish valleys. We look at how we look at meaningful opportunities for our youth and education for our youth. And with that in mind, it's our objective is to work together to make holistic approaches with regards to how we engage our future.
So your question is coming down from governance category. And your question is tonight, do you feel it is important for our leadership to have a business background and or a 4-year degree in the business-related fields?
Our holistic approach is before contact with the strength of our longhouse and the strength of our people before contact. Of course, our traditional knowledge with our respective territories that we survived for thousands of years. Today we need to be educated with regards to how we work in a colonized environment with regards to the governments of the day. And the conspiracy of legislation is forcing us to do things, to become educated so we can become meaningful participants, not assimilating ourselves into the environment economy of the day, but working on things that really work for our youth and our children, and the strength and wisdom of our longhouse, and also the tenacity of our sports of canoe racing and lacrosse. But certainly, degrees are becoming the mandate of the day and important for us with regards to governance and how we look at our future. We work with delegated mandates working on the conspiracy of legislation, the federal government, provincial governments, and Aboriginal affairs. But certainly with that in mind, I do agree that the strength of our future assets, our children, need to be and must be educated, and that will give us the strength of our future education and the strength that we're going to require as a nation for our future opportunities with regards to business and education and economic development in our territory. It is essential, I agree with it, but we need to work together to educate our youth today for our future generations who are going to rely on our education and the strength of today.
Swallowings. So our next number is 0876646.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm honored to be able to be nominated. Good to be here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming and supporting our candidates, and I wish them all the best. And I've been in a part of this since 1977. Had a break in '93 and got back on the council in 2001 to present, and I'm running again. And I worked along with a lot of our people here that were on council prior to this session. Glad to see the younger people that are on the council today and into the future. And I wish them well. My name is Dick Williams. My dad is Ted Williams. My mom is Mavis Nee Lewis. And my grandfather was one of the guys signed amalgamation, Chief Edward Williams. And my other grandfather is Louis Lewis. Thank you.
So your question is coming down from Lands and Resources category. And the question for you tonight is, how actively will you pursue land claims?
Our approach as a council and from our past leaders has been to deal with our legal position on a basis of going forward for purposes of our future in our own lands, is consultation and accommodation processes. And we are a part of the, how do you call it, the treaty process? They signed it in this actual building in 1992. And the court cases that developed immediately after that, we immediately stepped away from that process and are way heads and shoulders above other tribes that have gone into this treaty process, because what they were doing was giving away their Aboriginal rights and title for, I guess, guaranteed bits and pieces of their traditional territory for purposes of protecting their families and their I guess, coming generations, for purposes of not having any land that was able to be brought back to them, third-party alienation and all the rest of that, and government pressure and I guess maybe bad advice from lawyers that may. And I think this process, the treaty process, is geared up for the lawyers to make money and the government to get rid of their obligations to the tribes. Thank you.
Okay, so our next number is 0876631.
Haktin not Pak Satan Sani Queens na Document Hokumayam. Pak Satan Sani comes from a Uwiki ceremony where I asked the medicine man for a name. And I got late Uncle Lawrence Baker to translate it for me to Pak Satan Sani, means white-horned woman. I'm glad to be here tonight to share this evening with all of you. It's good to see the people here that want change, need change. And only we, the people, can do that. It's the votes. I've been I've been working in education for the last 17 years. I worked in North Van here at Carson Graham. Now I'm up in Squamish. And now as a First Nation support worker, now I'm the outreach worker. And I love helping and supporting the families that are in crisis. Ocean.
Thank you very much. So your question is coming from education, or values and beliefs, and Olwen. So your question is coming from values and beliefs system category, and your question is, do you think all candidates for council and band manager should have a clean criminal record, and should all be free from drugs and alcohol?
That's a real good question for me, because I have been all my life. And it's a belief system and a value, because I've seen so much harm done with the drugs and alcohol in our community. And it's time for all of us to commit, not just to the community, but to ourselves as a healthy community, and to support and love each other, because residential school took so much from us. And I think my path in life today is because trying to understand what my parents were impacted with, that impacted myself and my children, and that to live those and be the model and the mentor for the youth today and the elders because the elders, when they know you're walking in a good way, they can breathe a lot easier, and they can go in peace knowing that they're left in good hands. And for me, it was a commitment to never do drugs or drink alcohol, because they're raw medicines. They weren't meant to be abused. And it's just a way of life for me, and I cannot imagine it any other way. Rosium.
Okay, so our next number is 0876 634.
Just went and got a coffee and I knew my networking call. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Lewis, born and raised on Mulchison here by Willie and Dolores Lewis. And it's been a pleasure serving you the last 4 years on Chief and Council. It's been a pleasure facilitating, engaging, and listening to each and every one of you. If it's with the elders, or with our youth, or with our families during the family meeting process. It was great to learn and listen, learn about your hopes, your dreams, and also about the challenges that we face as families and as a community. So what I look at, I want to work on empowerment around education is key, strong and appropriate governance, lands and resources, ensuring our people get out there, and healthy communities. And the only way we're going to get that done is we communicate with one another, tell our stories, and move forward together. United, we are stronger. Ocean.
See ya, Alfred and Scott. So your question is coming down through the category of governance. And your question tonight is, what does conflict of interest mean to you?
Conflict of interest is a really good question because we're all related in this tribe. So how do we have conflict resolutions and conflict guidelines in terms of when our cousins are across the table from us and we're related to a lot of people, as we all know. So conflict of interest based on how we do things at Chief and Council is your direct relations. So it's your mother, your father, your siblings, and your parents and grandparents. Because if we start going into cousins, second cousins, and relations, we'll all be in conflict of interest at the table. So what we need to do, though, is actually have those guidelines put in place so that everyone understands what their conflict of interest is when they're talking to a specific issue. If something comes up about your family member and it's a direct family member, you have to declare your conflict of interest and say, I have to leave the room. I can't participate in this decision because it's my mom, it's my dad, it's my grandparents, it's my children, or my siblings. So that's what I believe in, but we need to write it down so that everyone understands it, because sometimes we get confused because we're related to a lot of people in the nation when we're talking about nation issues. So, Ocean.